And welcome to this short demo. We're going to paint some figures and stay to the end because I'll show you how I paint dogs as well. I'm also going to add some reflections in this as well. So I'll watch it with you and talk you through what's going on. I painted this a while ago actually, and I'm revisiting a few of my older videos to when I put them back onto YouTube, they'll now be in multi languages, which I know helps a few of you out. So I don't mind doing that. It's also good fun to see how I've progressed as well. So I'm just laying down simple washes. This exercise is more about the figures than the actual beach, really. So it doesn't really matter. If you're just doing something like this to practice, I won't worry too much about the background, really. But we're just setting the scene to then put the figures on. But I'm actually going fairly light in tone with the beach because I want the figures to stand out and be the main feature. So I'm not going too dark. But this is a great opportunity to practice wet into wet, and I'm working on a piece of paper about 7.5 inches by 11. I used to paint that size a lot, and just putting one wash into the next while it's all damp and just let it run. Don't fight it. Let it do what it's going to do. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, if you just leave it like that, it'll dry perfectly fine and it'll be great. It's when you mess about and play with it, then you have problems. So I'm aiming here to cover the paper, get it all covered, leave a few white highlights behind. To be fair, back then when I painted that, I probably wasn't even thinking about leaving those behind. Now I consciously do leave them behind, and that's what you need to do as well. Consciously think about leaving that white paper. It does add sparkle to the scene. And you'll notice that I'm using a very limited palette as well, just a few colours. You don't need lots of colours. If you're a beginner, I would highly recommend just paint with just 3 or 4 colours, get used to those colours, and then progress on to that. Random colors there, reds, blues in the sea. You don't see often colors like that, but why not? Watercolor should be fun. Talking of fun, someone commented the other day and said, give us a smile occasionally. But this is a very serious business painting, and we've got to concentrate, so there's no time for smiles and so on. I'm only joking. There's a smile. That's why I don't smile, you see. So blue distant hill there to stay to the end because we are going to paint a cat. No, a dog. However, it does look a bit like a cat, although we've got 2 dogs that do look quite good. So let's skip to the other bit. What I will do before I do the figures is just put a darker distant cliffs in or whatever's there, land mass, because otherwise if you don't have enough darks in, your paintings will look a bit wishy-washy, and it's all very light in value in the sand area, which is fine, but you do need some darks to create that sense of depth. So there's a nice combination of softness in there. We've got soft edges and some hard edges. That's something I probably didn't think about at that time, but I do again think about it now, where my edges are, hard and soft edges. So the fun part, painting the dogs, what we've all been waiting for. So what I learned over the years, that just keep it simple. When dogs are a long way away like that, a couple of blobs with a little aerial sticking up, which is a tail obviously, and that's enough to describe the dog. And same with the figure on a beach. Just a head, keep it small. The head, often the mistake is to paint the heads too big. And then just a suggestion of the body, arms not sticking out like that. Just think about how a person looks as they walk away from you or walking along the beach. That's what you would see. And I'm a lot more confident in painting figures now. And how I built confidence in watercolor was doing lots of paintings, and if I could look back, I probably wouldn't have worried so much about how the paintings turned out, just to enjoy it more. That these came out okay. That I struggled with legs for a long time, and I think probably I've started to figure it out on this one a little bit, was just don't paint the legs too much. In other words, just a suggestion, a bit of dry brush, that works wonders. You don't want your figures to look too static. You want to create movement, and by doing that, by just either just painting 1.5 legs, so it suggests one leg is up in the air and moving, and the 2 figures there, you'll see I've actually painted them into each other, which adds connection, and the legs suggest that they are walking off balance, and they may not be perfect. This was a long time ago. I'll probably give a bit more thought to where the leg positions should be and so on, but it's fine. If you're a beginner, just have a go at painting figures. Don't be afraid to put figures in your painting, because it just transforms the life of the scene. And very important, the shadows to anchor the figures. And quite often, if there isn't actually a shadow in the painting or in the real scene, the photograph, I'll probably put a shadow in to anchor them onto the ground. And also we've got reflections here as well. And you'll see I left the reflection area, the water, very light in tone, and that was to create contrast. You know, contrast is a great tool in painting. So I've got two dogs off in the distance. They're quite believable. So we've got another one here closer up, so it needs to be a slightly more detail. And this is one I think I may have sort of made slightly into a cat, but hey, so you do see some people walking cats these days. So, but again, don't worry about it. You know, worst case scenario, if you really mess up your figure, your dog or whatever, you could turn it into a rock or make it into a bigger dog. You know, but that was okay. So overall, you know, this was one of my first demos I did, and you know, painted this a long time ago, and there's a lot of good points in there. There's a lot of things I perhaps would, you know, do better now, but that's the whole thing, you know, with watercolor. It's all a learning journey. So I'm messing about with that cat. You know, if I just left it, it probably would have been okay. But fiddling around with watercolors, don't do that. It's not a good idea. But I still do it now. It's difficult to leave them, isn't it? I suppose we enjoy painting, so you want to be playing about with it, you know, and shadows going off in different directions. No, we've all done it, but that's not too bad on that one. But I think the thing to do is relax. You know, if I could look back and tell myself, you know, just enjoy it, don't worry too much. I probably, at this stage, I've already been painting watercolors for 10 plus years, and I am probably relaxing. And it shows in the painting, looser, you know, more confident marks, and I think I progressed on from that. So some figures off in the distance, they're a long way away, so we are talking about little blobs in the distance there, and it adds a bit of depth. And what I probably would do now is I'll just take the paper towel, just dab them, just to lighten them in tone, which would again add a bit more depth. But obviously that's a trick I've learned recently because I didn't do it there. And then some seagulls. Still do those the same. You know, just dab the brush. I think I'm still using a Skoda Perla there. It's a good brush. So I think that's probably not much more to go. I can't remember how far I did it, so I'm still adding now seagulls. Seagulls off in the distance there. Again, just little blobs, and then just a little drag of the brush creates those reflections, you know, little tricks of the trade. So there we go, final painting. So that worked okay. So if you want to see more videos I've done, hit the like and subscribe. If you want to see some of my recent demos, that full demonstrations where I'm commenting as I'm painting along, you can see those on my website, links in the description, and it's a great way to support the channel as well. So thanks for helping me grow this channel to where it is today, and it's continuously growing, which is great. So until next time, bye for now.